Hello and welcome to Stand Up for Change. Today I have in the house someone just incredible. He came from the slopes, people. He took a picture like 10 minutes before we got on camera and was like, hey, look at that. And sent it to me like, I'll see you in like an hour. Incredible. Derek Strokon in the house. Now, when I say all of this, this is like mic drop moments.
Okay.
Here he is the Chief Inspirational Officer of Sacred Line Consulting. He is the president of Everyday Human. I love their logo. We'll talk about that later. He is the CEO of Polar Cold Caps Canada. He is the founder of Kindness Cures Foundation. He is a two-time international best-selling author, people. Stop Stalling, Start Selling, and Human Being Human. That's it. We can leave now. We don't have to do the show anymore. That's it. We're over.
I'd like to meet that guy. He sounds cool.
So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up. Okay. Outstanding. Outstanding. So the first question I always ask, thank you for joining me today, this evening. Thank you for coming to the slopes because that was a beautiful picture. You had a perfect day.
Yeah, it was a gorgeous day out.
The first question I always ask is, even if people knew everything I had already just said about you and they're following you on social media, stalking you,
right?
What would be one thing, either personal or professional, that you'd like to share with the audience that they may not know?
Sure. I think, I'm pretty transparent. Maybe we'll go with something fun on this one. Is that if anybody's seen the movie White Chicks, you can find me in there. There's one bit. It's about my half second of fame, just one quick walk by, one little cameo, which was a good time. And then, sports related. I skated for Rollerblade back when that was cool on their national freestyle team, and was a competitive mogul skier as a kid. So more fun things than business, because I think I'm pretty transparent for the rest of stuff.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
There you go. So
if you've not seen that movie, don't bother. It's not good.
It's not a good movie. I guess my question was going to be next is like, okay, were you paid to be in there, or you were an extra, or you just happened to be walking by?
Yeah, I got to spend a month on set, and everything else that we did, I was just background, and it was great, but lots of fun.
My wife thinks that's fantastic.
Nice. Jody, I'll send you the link so you don't have to watch the rest of the movie.
She probably would love the movie. She likes the kind of crazy tongue-in-cheek type humor. So
yeah.
So let's talk. I mean, we named a ton of things, so you can start wherever you like.
Sure.
But let's talk about your journey, and then we'll get into like all the different things that you do.
Yeah, I think honestly, the journey started a lot with my dad, and I don't actually talk about this much. But my dad at 65, unfortunately not that uncommon. He went through a mental, emotional, and physical breakdown. Learning from that how much of this was tied into what I refer to as hero culture, learning about how much of this was tied into the, this false expectation of being the hero without looking out for your own physical and mental wellness. And it's not that he was ignoring it, but he didn't know that that was an important thing to focus on. So that was 10 years ago. And unfortunately, Dad went through a big emotional crash. And that was the catalyst for me to shift. That was the thing that helped make me make the change from corporate to the entrepreneurial route, and to really focusing on living every day, about not wasting a single breath, because there's not enough time.
Time's too short.
Yeah.
I look here now as I approach, as my wife and I both approach 60, and I go, where did this go? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel that. I don't feel that old. I don't feel like I'm in that, last quarter of my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
So
incredible.
I think the big realization was the mental health focus, the focusing on self, on dealing with trauma that you've had as a child or as an adolescent or as a young adult, deal with that as soon as you can.
Yep.
So I made a very strong commitment that everything that I do moving forward was going to have a philanthropic piece to it, that it was not just about me. This is about ensuring that we build out programs that help support other people. Because if I've woken up to this awareness, it's now my accountability and my responsibility to share that.
That's fantastic. So let's dive into that.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the different pieces that you're doing, because
sure.
there's a ton. We named
Yeah,
a ton. So
right.
let's talk about everyday human.
Yeah,
And that is, if correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah,
you want to raise $10 million for charities.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's
we're
talk
we're
about that. How does that
we're a
work?
few zeros away yet, but honestly, I started this company last January 2023, and I didn't know what that company was going to be. I just knew it had to be something about philanthropy. It had to be focused primarily on giving back to the community, and it had to be focused on giving others. So I used that as my business focus. And then I said, how do we start something? How do we create an organization that is going to create the opportunity for us to facilitate that? So what we found was actually in the merchant processing space, it's not a sexy environment, but there is a lot of inefficiency in that market space. So what we've been able to do, the basic mechanics is almost every company that we work with will bring them down from 2.9 to 2.1% on their transaction fees. The agreement is that they take 10% of what we save them and they donate that to a charity. They pick the charity, they make the donation, they get the tax receipt. All they need to do to maintain their accredited rates is just report back to us when they go out and they help somebody else, to get businesses to think philanthropic first. And I didn't know what this business was going to turn into, but it's incredible because it is affecting employee retention. It is improving employee morale. It's reducing turnover. It's increasing, the top line and the bottom line, because these businesses are now, we free up cash flow so they're not out of pocket.
Yeah.
Then they have that cash flow that's available to help others. And that honestly is that's the only focus of this organization, is to hit $10 million. When we hit 10, we're going to add a zero and we're just going to keep going.
Good for you.
Oh,
So walk through the other pieces of
yeah,
walk through the other pieces. I'm going to put this down for a
sure.
little bit and I'll bring it back later. But if we go to you have two different sites, or
Yeah.
three sites.
Yeah, there's a number. But
But
this is a great starting point. This is a great
starting point because you can see like everything that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So that and Soul Summit Ventures, and then it's got everything laid out underneath it, and explaining why, right? Explaining why it is that we're doing what we're doing. Why is it that we're building it this way? So Everyday Human is incredible. I'm so passionate about that. We work with companies and organizations in Canada and the US. We act essentially as a broker. So we're not repping a product. We're not repping, a SaaS company. We are out there just negotiating better rates for other organizations so they can free up cash flow and they can give.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We open up Transformation Kitchen in October. We'll be talking about, I will be calling you going, all right, let's do this. Let's make this happen.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other pieces of your business. You could start wherever you want to, but I know you've umbrellaed everything now into Soul Summit Ventures, which I love your logo. I love the whole concept. And I love how you have these different pieces. So I guess, because I want to talk about cold caps and the kindness cures, I want to do that last.
Sure.
And kind of work through. So your next piece that you have.
So the next piece would be Sacred Line Consulting. It's what I've done. It's been my go-to strategy throughout my entire, even my professional career, has been coaching and training and development. It's been focusing, I would say, we're probably 70% in the consulting space, 30% in the coaching world. So part of this is motivation, but the big primary piece is that we work with organizations to help them improve their systems and processes and make continual incremental improvements in their business. The real interesting thing about this is the philanthropy piece is now finding its home in the consulting world. So I would say 50% of the businesses that I'm working right now, we are now integrating giving strategies and philanthropy strategies to change the concept behind how these organizations are doing business. Because the largest part of that organization is financial services. And everybody knows a financial advisor. You go to any chamber meeting, any networking group, and you're going to meet 15 of them. So, right. So every one of your friends who went to high school with, who is now a financial advisor, they're reaching out to you, help you with your 401k. But how do we create a differentiation in that model? And the philanthropy side, because of what I've been focused with on the other businesses, that has been coming like gangbusters right into this space right now. So, we have one of my group of advisors that I'm working with, we're changing their approach when they're marketing and when they're building their practice to be philanthropy first. So when you ask these guys what they do, they don't say, I'm going to help you plan for retirement and I'm the best financial advisor out there and we've got the best products and service, right? All of that's a so what, and I should hope so kind of a moment. What we're doing is we're creating that shift so that when they go out and speak to the public or when they're meeting a new prospect, they say, we're really passionate about helping put kids through sports and we're trying to, affect the lives of 500 children. The way that we do that is by building out financial plans for individuals. So if you'd like to come on board with us and help the kids, we can take over your investments and we can write your insurance. But that's not why we do what we do. And this is changing that consulting model. Like very few people are going philanthropy first. Financial advisors are an interesting breed because there's a certain income level that you get to where that exponential income growth just starts to happen. And the individuals, the men and women running these businesses, are losing passion for their business because they've got all the money that they need. So bringing philanthropy in and putting that right in their face, it's rejuvenating them to run their businesses. So it's all starting to weave itself together, which is really cool. But I love, like, Sacred Line is running incredibly well. I'm very proud of what it's doing. I'm proud that the philanthropy side and the giving side is, it's becoming part of the fabric of what we do on the consulting side.
It's incredible. And I love that how you're teaching other people to bring that in, because it shouldn't be the new wave. It should just be something that has been done, but it is becoming something now where people want to create change. They want to feel good about the work that they're doing, and they want it to mean something beyond just a P&L statement. So I love that. And
and I think this ties in so much to the boomer generation crashes that are happening, because unfortunately my dad is not the only one who's gone through this. It is not a unique story. But the millennial generation coming up, they don't want to take over the business as it is. They don't want to do 60 hours a week. They want to work 25, and they want to do it smarter, and they're more intelligent than us and they have more access to technology than we do. So they don't need to work 60 hours a week. But there is that incredible millennial guilt that's associated with people coming into the business market saying, Mom and Dad, I don't want to buy your business, because not only do I not want the 60 hours a week, but I don't want the heart attack. I don't want the cancer. I don't want the emotional, physical, and mental breakdown. However, I feel real guilty because I was the one at the cottage driving your boat when I was a teenager while you were, while you had to work over the weekend. So there is this massive shift that is coming forward. And I think we look at the boomer side, and the perception that the millennials are lazy is so wrong. They're just smarter than us. So,
and they grew up with technology in their hand. I went to college with a typewriter, for crying out loud. It was the rich kid down the street and around the corner that actually had a computer, and it was those floppy disk days that we would all go over, either to the library or over to the kid's house to be like, to mess around. But watching those steps and how things are changing now so fast.
Yeah.
It just seems like every time I turn around, like there's new this, there's new that, there's all this new. So you either embrace it or you just get run over by it. So
Right.
use it, figure out what you need, what you like, what helps, and
Yeah.
then move forward.
Yeah.
But it's here and it's not going anywhere. So
No, and
it's
we, one of our former CEOs, when I worked in the finance sector, we were having a good chat, and it was very clear it was adapt or die. And you look at it, especially in the financial services space, but it is happening in every industry. The shift to automation, the shift to, my son is in grade 6 and he doesn't write so well. And he's like, well, why do I have to learn to write? Because I can just speak it into my phone, or I can just, voice dictate it into Google. And I'm having a hard time proving that he's wrong.
mm.
So,
Yeah, I think the struggle is to convince the population that's coming up now that there's something to be said about that authenticity of you actually doing certain things and not
yeah,
allowing tech to do that part for you,
sure.
but
100%.
using it as this automation, using it as a tool,
100%.
what it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
so yeah, it is
Yeah.
a struggle.
Absolutely. But yeah, having a blast with that side of the business, it definitely currently is the engine that's keeping stoking the fires for the other businesses at this point, because um, you know, Everyday Human is a year old, but really it didn't even have a purpose until about July of last year. So that rollout is continuing to build. Yeah, I guess the other parts of the space has been leveraging the books. The books have been incredible. Stop Stalling, Start Selling. It was one of those passion projects that I wanted to write. I think probably like everybody else who has, half a book written in a Word document on their computer. And it sat there for years and it didn't do anything. And it was finally came to light that this was the right time. When I moved into the entrepreneurial space, it was the right time to write that book. That book is it's 50 short stories that are all sales related. They're all kind of my best sales tips and tricks that I've gathered over the last 25 years in sales. And I decided that they needed to be a book and get pushed out. And then Human Being Human is an expansion on my Tedx that I delivered in January 2023, and really dives a lot deeper into this mental health side, into hero culture, into how do we understand. We talk about a concept of tipping time. And the idea of tipping time is to look at life as an hourglass, and to see all the grains of sand that haven't passed, all the grains of sand that have. But if we can tip it, we actually get to create a space in the middle. And that
Oh, I
space,
love that.
the space in the middle, what it does is it proves to us that the past and the future are not actually connected. So even though the grains of sand are touching, they're not connected. And that's something that we don't understand in business. I think, if there is one magic moment to share in this, is about understand what I refer to as the power of nothing, is understanding that power of nothing in this space, that creates opportunity to grasp anything it is that you ever want to achieve, right? Eminem, great song, but he got it wrong when he said, if you had one chance or one opportunity, because in reality, that chance and that opportunity recreates itself at every moment.
I agree with you. And I think that you can change. I'm a perfect example. My wife laughs at me all the time and says I'm a chameleon, but
Yeah.
I've reinvented myself so many times because the things that I was passionate about changed.
Right.
And as those things changed, and I was taking, because I'm an addict, and so I'm
Right.
taking my addictive
Right.
personality and I'm using it towards something positive. Watching how that's changed, I've seen it for myself. So if I can do it in my late 50s,
Right.
then anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That opportunity, it recreates itself at every moment. And if it passes, it's going to come back tomorrow. And if you want to choose it, then go choose it. And if it didn't happen today, well, you've got an opportunity the next day to do it.
I
Um,
love
and
that.
I think understanding this is what's allowed me to harness the ability to create as much as we have, right? We have done a lot in this last 2 years. The compression has been significant to
Yeah.
achieve and pull off what we've done, but I've also had more free time and more leisure time. Hence our, skiing with the kids this afternoon prior to coming in to
I
chat with
love
you.
that. I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's focusing on lifestyle integration rather than balance. And I think, there's another great misconception that we think about there to go, balance means that nothing moves. So how can we say that what we're trying to achieve is, a work-life balance? It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. So if we have balance, it means that nothing moves. And if one thing changes, something else has to change. But if we can change the concept of how we think about this, about lifestyle integration, right? I'm part of the 5 a.m. club. I'm up, I'm early. I get my admin done there. I work through till about noon. I'll take off in the afternoon and get some skiing in with my wife, and then we go do gym class with the kids. And then it's come back to the office and hammer through some things before dinner. And it's when you think about it as integration instead of balance, it changes how much you can achieve in a day.
I love that. I have a running dispute with a grunt buddy of mine, veteran,
Yeah.
Eric Brew. I'm calling you out, man. He actually believes, he comes from, this guy is amazing. They call him Moose, and
Right.
he doesn't believe in balance. He believes in a
Right.
lot of the gray. And he
Right.
actually sent me a book, and told me, hey, you need to read this.
Yeah.
And we have a healthy debate and discussion about it.
Right.
But because I am just now really starting to embrace that gray, because I've always wanted to be
Right.
like, my personality wants to be, I want to know, I want to do, I want to be part, I want to see, and
Yeah, for sure.
and there's a lot of the gray that makes things more comfortable, and
Right.
then gives you the opportunity to have those courageous moments where you're
Right.
stretching yourself and doing more. You can pick those time periods and pick
Yeah.
those things that you're doing. So I want to jump in
Yeah,
to cold caps now,
for
because
sure.
I told you this story when we first met, that
Yeah.
my wife went through this bout when she was having chemo sessions and injections and all this, and lost part of her hair. And that, what happens, especially to women,
Yeah.
what happens with that and how it makes them feel. So
Mhm.
this whole concept that you have of cold caps, explain
Yeah,
that,
for sure.
please, and so that we can let the audience know and they can investigate with you.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with the website's www.polarcoldcaps.com. The company has been around for 10 years. I've been involved on the ownership side and on the leadership side since about September last year. How I learned about this product was when I delivered my TEDx. One of the other amazing speakers, her name is Kelsey Kerrigan. Go look up her TEDx. It's absolutely phenomenal. But Kelsey gave a talk on her experience going through and being diagnosed with breast cancer at age 32.
Oh
She
wow.
was diagnosed at 32, young mom, underwent a double mastectomy, and kind of went down the Google rabbit hole one night and found out about this idea called cold capping. And she'd never heard about it before. She figured she'd give it a try. And essentially, the mechanics of this are very simple, is that it's a gel-based cap. You utilize it on chemo day. So you start about an hour to an hour and a half prior to chemo. You wear it throughout your chemo infusion, and then upwards of 2 hours after, depending on what chemo it is that you're taking into your system. And what it does is actually just freezes the hair follicle. So it's not incredibly scientific or incredibly complicated. It's scientific, but not
Yeah.
complicated. That it freezes the hair follicle, which constricts the blood vessel, which prevents the chemo from absorbing into the hair. What this does is keeps your hair healthy. You don't lose your hair as you go through chemo. And
And
I
that's
sat there and
incredible.
I said, how does the whole world not know about this?
Yeah.
This is
How is
incredible.
this not like everywhere?
Yeah. So you look at this product has been around for 20 years. Nobody's heard about it. Polar's been around for 10 years. I would say, you know, there's very little competition in that space. But when you're over 90% effective in the cancers that we promote, so we will not utilize or suggest the use of cold capping in something that would be a blood cancer or brain cancer. We don't ever want to put at risk the chemo not getting where it needs to get. Where
Gotcha.
we are very effective is in the breast cancer community and the ovarian cancer community, because it is a localized cancer.
Gotcha.
And it has nothing to do with the hair. This is about empowering patients so that they get to choose who they tell. It's about empowering patients so that, you know, I was sitting poolside. We were at a cancer conference in Florida in February, and I was sitting poolside with this lady, and we'd been chatting, and she's 10 years cancer free. And she says, you know, I still look in the mirror every day and I think of my cancer because my hair didn't grow back the way that it was.
Oh,
And you go, there is a product out there that can actually change this, that can actually help facilitate the retention of hair. Now you will lose some, right? It's not a perfect science, especially, you know, the body's going through so many other things at this time. But this, honestly, Jason, this has become my life calling, is to get this product into the mainstream to solve the logistic problems of how do we create early awareness of this. That I would say is the biggest challenge with the product, is most people learn about it at diagnosis. And your wife and my wife, I bet you, are very similar, that they will do everything for everyone else before they do something for themselves.
Yep.
So you educate or you inform somebody that they can keep their hair. Well, she's thinking about, you know, can my dumb husband take care of the kids? How are we going to make it financially? Am I going to live through this?
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry about myself. We need to get this into general awareness. We need to pump this thing forward so that it is a product that people understand. We are looking at creating relationships where we'll actually have registered nurses doing our client onboarding so that we have more kind of legitimacy in the medical field. So yeah,
That's
there's
outstanding.
so many things to do, but just to look in the eyes of a patient after they've finished chemo, because we utilize the Cancer Foundation Kindness Cures. We utilize the Cancer Foundation to fund purchases of caps for families that can't afford it. To look in their eyes when they finish treatment with a full set of hair is just like, that's the thing, dude.
Yeah. No.
That's what it's all about. That's it.
It's so awesome. That is. Come on. It's just like game changing.
Yeah.
I told you the first time that I heard this. Like I immediately was like, where was this?
Right.
You know, when my wife was going through this.
Right.
So, you know, I applaud you for that. And it ties nicely into the last piece, which is, now, is this the last piece is your Kindness Cares Foundation. Is that a 501c3 or is
so we are registered as a society in British Columbia in Canada. We're in the process of expanding this concept into the United States so that we will actually be able to take donations and issue tax receipts for this. So in the US, we're probably only about a week and a half out from being able to take donations and then issue full tax receipts.
Very nice.
And then we would be able to utilize those funds to help support families that financially it's in a space. The other place where I'm working very hard is on the insurance companies in the group benefits space to get our product approved. And I can't announce it right here, but there's something big coming. We're just crossing T's and dotting I's on it, but we're moving forward in that space where we potentially will be able to create an environment where group benefits will cover a portion, if not all, of cold caps. So that's a big fight. and a big argument, but it is working. It's a matter of just, right, it's do a little bit more every day. That continual incremental increase in effort that I teach in the Sacred Line consulting side is that I have to make sure that I'm doing the same thing on my end.
Yeah, you've got to celebrate all the victories.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that about you, because every time we catch up, it's like, okay, well, what are you doing? And what's happening? And then here's what we're doing. It's like, oh my goodness. So I love it. And I really appreciate the conversation, all of the things that you're doing. I want to make sure, and as Maruf is our guy that helps us with our SEO. He's been killing it with our YouTube channel, and has been part of the show here today. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jody, and others that are here. But I will also say that we will get this out to a bunch of people in all our social media as well. We'll get you a copy of this, but I just want to make sure that everybody hears this. And you know, you've already kind of answered this question.
Sure.
Well, why did you join HR-4U and become a strategic partner with us?
Yeah. You know, it's like, honestly, there's business benefit, there's impact benefit. It's the human side, dude. It's the fact that, like, you and I connect and you're like, we've been brothers for our entire life. Honestly, like, we haven't had a conversation that we, have been short on information or data to share, or things to encourage each other and motivate each other. But I think, like, what I've realized, when I lived in the corporate space, I thought I was the only one who thought this way. And now, in the last 2 years of engaging and building networks and creating authentic connections with heart-centered humans whose focus is well above and beyond themselves. That's why I am linking arms with you. That's why I'm passionate about HR-4U and everything that you are doing, because there are so many spaces that need help, and us being together means that we're stronger.
Yeah.
Right. I think, you think about, you and I are like pages in a book, and if we've got 2 pages, they're easy to rip. But when you've got that whole book together, dude, it is like unbreakable. So I think
agree.
It's truly about helping support and motivate each other.
I love it. I agree. We are out of time, but man, what a conversation. There was so much packed in here. It's just incredible. Reach out to Derek. If you're not connected with him, reach out, connect with him, find out about the different businesses that he is part of, and get involved, get the awareness out so that we can help people, because all of this is just fantastic in the way he's structuring this. So I'm cheering for you one last time. We got to do it one last time. We have been on Stand Up for Change with Derek Strokon. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for telling everybody about your journey, about your companies, about what you're doing, what you're passionate about. It's great to see you, man.
Yeah, I likewise, just grateful to be here with you.
Take care, people.
All right.